Welcome, everybody, to DAT Poker Podcast, episode 109 for October 14th, 2021. We're in the throes of the World Series of Poker, Terrence. You and I were down in Vegas for an event or two, and we have returned through all the red tape and testing and all the different things that we had to do to come back to Canada. But we're back, and we're ready to do a podcast and talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the World Series. But let's kick it off, Terrence, with a pretty deep run by you in the $10,000 buy-in limit hold'em. Obviously, this is the event you circle every year on the World Series schedule. Try and play in every year. Try and get down for. That's your long history with limit hold'em, and this year no different. I think there was close to 100 runners, 96, I want to say, and you went deep. You got to the final table. I think 5 or 6 handed. You might have been the chip leader at one point, but end up busting out in fourth because limit hold'em. But let's use this podcast right here a little bit cathartically. You and I haven't talked about your run on purpose. We generally don't try and talk about poker stuff before we do a podcast. So I want to hear your take on your deep run, almost getting that monkey off your back and taking down a bracelet.
Yeah, well, I've figured that you're right. I was chip leader, I think 6-handed, and I've decided to burn the place down. No, we'll get to that a little later.
Yes, we will.
Me and Philly there finished both in fourth place, and I was pretty choked up about it too. Yeah, so obviously, we were in Vegas, had a lot of fun, and you're right. 10K limit hold'em is something that I'm always going to play if I'm in town. I didn't know if I was going to make it this year. I got convinced, by my baby mama, I should get down there and get to it. It felt a little weird, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure it did for you too, just going down to Vegas and playing the World Series of Poker and kind of as if nothing was going on other than that people are wearing masks. It still kind of feels like the World Series, but it feels a little weird to be involved in all that. And but once you start playing for about 6-7 hours, you realize, God, how long these days are. And they're just so long. You're playing, 10K limit hold'em is not an easy field. You're really focusing a lot, towards the end of the day. I'm a guy who wakes up at 6 a.m. So playing till 3 a.m. like we did both the first 2 days is a struggle. So I made it through there, and chip leader, 7-handed, 6-handed, was looking pretty good there. I mean, I started the final table 7th of 10, and I went on a big heater right away, but I couldn't keep it going, and it's tough. It's frustrating, obviously. Still nothing around this wrist, and that's tough. I mean, but it was nice. I got all messages from all the people, a lot of listeners of this very podcast, and all the friends and stuff like that who were supporting, and that takes a little bit of the sting out of it. But yeah, still looking for number one. So I mean, definitely feel the frustration a little bit. But on the other hand, I mean, you got to get lucky to get that far, and so, started the tournament. You asked me if I take fourth. Yeah, I'll take fourth for $75,000. Sure. But when you get to chip leader 6-handed, obviously not closing hurts a lot.
So let's look at that final table. Ray D, cash game extraordinaire, finished 10th. Kevin Song, who
crushed me all day, by the way. Like Ray D, Ray D is the only reason he was around on day 2 is because I just kept handing him chips, just on my left all day. Everybody would if you play limit hold'em, it doesn't fold around to the blinds very often,
right?
But it just kept folding around to the blinds. Button just kept open folding. So me playing out of position against Ray, and I just kept having just enough to play the hand from the small blind. Just kept sending him chips every hand. But continue. Yeah, Kevin Song,
Kevin Song's a legend, right?
I mean,
he's been around forever and just a great player. And deep in this one too.
Yeah, he plays this thing like every year, usually holds over me as well. I mean, there's an interesting thing about this particular tournament. It's kind of the same people playing in it every year. People play high stakes limit hold'em, and then you have some no limit guys just wanting to take a shot, and then but it's pretty much just all the mixed game regs, and a lot of cash game guys who play at the Commerce, come over and play this one, make the drive up the I-15.
In 6th place, John Racner, who's having a really good World Series actually, and ends up in 6th for 44,000. Jason Somerville, old school.
Didn't even know he really played this game. I had no idea that Jay Carver played this game, but always really fun with him. I mean, we go back all the way to the Ultimate Poker Days, 2012 or so. So it's really good to see him and hang out with him. I didn't get to hang out with him much since we left. Since Ultimate Poker stopped being a thing, and he hasn't been doing much of the streaming, but he built that great successful empire, and always really happy to catch up with him. I had his table most of day two, obviously all of the final table day three. He was great. Yeah.
You finished fourth for 79,000, as you mentioned. Eric Kurtzman, not sure who that was, finishes third. And
you torched me with 5-3 suited under the gun.
Just give us the hand. Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of hands. We'll get to the top three, but give me so guy raised under the gun with 5-3.
Yeah, I mean, we're seven-handed. I mean, he was playing really aggressively. I mean, this guy was playing to win, no doubt. I 3-bet it with the ace jack second under the gun, which you're not even super excited about against a lot of people. Like a lot of people at seven-handed table, like under the gun raises, you might just muck it. If the right guy raises, you might just muck it. I mean, if Adam Schwartz raises under the gun, I might just toss the ace jack into the muck. And then I think it came ace 8-4 with two spades, as I believe, and he's got the 5-3 of spades, so he's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. He led into me even as I 3-bet. I flatted the turn, and then deuce ball on the river I think is a great card, so he bets, but I still don't raise him. I mean, I think most people I'm raising for value in the spot, but I just had a weird feeling, and when he turned over the 5-3, I was like, well, that wasn't what I was expecting. I was kind of expecting to be beat already, because normally I'm going to raise people top pair with a jack kicker on like an ace 8-4 deuce whatever board. Like the most people in the world are getting raised, but for some reason spidey senses were kind of off on that one, and I lost the minimum, I guess. But then I couldn't fade another run out the next hand, and I mean, Eric Hurstman, like unorthodox style, but he was there to win. Like he was the guy I think who had the least respect for me. There's a lot of guys, because of my reputation in limit hold'em, they're a little more hesitant to play hands against me. Like, I talked about Ray D just holding over me, so he wasn't one of them. But Racner and Manette, I mean, these two guys, obviously like longtime grinders. I thought it was clear that they weren't going to like just fold big hands to me. That's not going to happen. But they were going to take the marginal spots and just kind of be like, maybe I won't play this pot. And but Eric Kurtzman just like, I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't know who you are. I'm just here to win this tournament and smash your face in. And he got the best of me on that one.
Any other hands that you can think of that were
I was just going to say, in reference to the ace jack, I just remembered a hand where it was like middle position. Nate Silver opened, and Jason Somerville just mucked the ace jack.
Yeah. Jason was short on chips probably at that point. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, that's a very non-standard laydown in that spot, especially like Nate opened a surprising number of hands, and I'm sure Nate's the one you want to talk about next. Interesting storyline to this, obviously, the founder of 538.com, the guy who's famous for nailing the 2016 election, is that right? Going 50 for 50 in the States, showed up, is making his return to poker. Told me at the table, we played a lot together on day 2 and day 3. Just nice guy. I mean, people asked me after the event, like, was he a nice guy? Was he a jerk? I was like, 100% nice guy. Just one of the guys at the table, really. I mean, he realized that, I think he realized like, hey, this is a 10K event. He's probably at some level of disadvantage, but he took it very seriously. He's writing a book about poker, apparently. Like, that's his project. That's why he's there at the World Series. He's playing a lot. I think mostly Hold'em events. He said the only things he really knows how to play are no limit Hold'em, and stud 8 or better, which is pretty random, but that's what he says. But yeah, he's writing a book about it, about poker, and I'm super excited to read that. And I was surprised by his aggression level. He made some, again, unorthodox plays. I think there was a hand where he folded king queen when I opened in the cutoff. Like he folded at king queen in small line, which is, given me a pretty wide berth. But on the other hand, I mean, he was opening very wide. He was extracting value. He was not going to be bluffed. Nate, he was bluffing. Like, his selections, not like what a limit hold'em pro would take. But I mean, this is a guy who hasn't played poker professionally in 15 years. I thought he played extremely admirably for a guy who hadn't played poker for a living in 15 years.
Yeah, you wonder how much time a guy like Nate has, right? Like, I don't know how involved he is at 538 anymore.
Mhm.
You said it was 2016. I want to say it was 2012 that he went 50 for 50,
Oh,
but
okay, yeah,
you
yeah,
could
yeah.
be right. But yeah, it just seems like that 538 juggernaut.
Yeah, that's right. I guess 2016 is the one where he kind of got it wrong because he said Hillary was a 2-1 favorite, and people were like, "You guys said Hillary had a 68% chance of winning, and he did, and she didn't win." Like, yeah, flush draws get there. Yeah, you're right. 2012, of course, he went 50 for 50 in the prediction thing.
Yeah, but that site, I mean, it's just obviously it's so labor intensive. There's so many people there. There's so much content.
I
Um,
asked him a little bit about this. Yeah, like I was like, "Hey, are you out here because like this thing?" And nice on the red wine, by the way. Daniel would be proud. Um, yeah, I asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah, it is. It's partly that it's kind of self sufficient and works without him, but partly because his new project is he really wants to write this book about poker, and of course he's, a bestseller already with The Signal and Noise, and yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, we've had we've had so many great poker books come out recently. Of course, the most memorable, Maria Konakova's book, kind of drawing the mainstream press, but Nate Silver, big name, adding to that.
yeah, it'd be
Also,
fun to have Nate on the podcast and talk about it when the book comes out. And
I will ask him when I'm back. I'm going back to Vegas. So what is it, on the 21st? I think I'm going back.
yeah,
And then I'll play the six max limit hold'em. I'd have to imagine that he'll play it too. I will see if I can do it. I will see if I can pull it off.
that'd be
He
good.
follows me on Twitter now. He's definitely the person who follows me on Twitter is the most famous person. So, but I'll see if I can get 10 minutes of his time or 20 minutes of his time maybe.
So Nate finishes in second for 151,000, and John Manette, you mentioned him earlier, Angry John, ends up
Less
winning.
angry, by the way, these days. I gotta say,
He's less angry.
yeah.
He wins his fourth bracelet in 245,000.
Is there a reason behind the nickname? I couldn't figure it
Oh,
out.
Angry John. Okay, let's give Ross a history of mixed games. Yeah, Angry John's a pretty angry guy. I mean, it's a different.
He doesn't look very angry for this
He
first
does.
time.
I mean, he's got like two kids, and I think that's really chilled him out. We talked about this a bit at the table, but yeah, he definitely had a reputation for being one of these guys who was extremely harsh on dealers in particular,
and players.
and other players as well. So it would be a different thing that you see than say Phil Hellmuth, where he would explode on people. He would say some of that, but a lot of it is sort of just under his breath and muttering. And so, yeah, I mean, Angry John was a very appropriate nickname. It's his Twitter handle. He like embraces it to some extent. He's Angry J Manette. He's definitely like a stickler with the rules.
Yeah.
Not in any sort of angle shooty way, but he just wants the right thing done. And like there are times where it's like, come on, John, like this guy's a World Series dealer. You play like, super high stakes at Aria or whatever. Like it's a different story. You can't correct those. But since then, I haven't seen John. I think the last World Series, John did not have kids. He was married and he did not have kids, but he has now two kids that are, I think, like 8 months and 2 years because of COVID. Obviously, we had no World Series last year, and he's much more mellow. And I think he really only got out of line once. It was a really funny hand, actually. So Jason, excuse me, it's me. I'm actually a short stack late on day two. We're tired. They made us play till like 3:45 a.m.
Wow.
Which is because of the PokerGo thing. They wanted PokerGo. PokerGo wanted us to be 7-handed by 5 p.m. So that's like a goal of theirs, right? So when we were still 12-handed the day before, they were worried we wouldn't get down fast enough. So they kind of didn't tell us when we were going to play to. And then when they got the 11, we were like, okay, we're going to play down. So we're all a little bit cranky and we're a little bit tired. We've been foot fried. Anyway, hand gets up. We're on the short stack. Me and John just go to war on the flop for the rest of my chips, and it's a pretty decent chunk of his stack too. I have ace 9, he has 9-7. It comes 9-8-7. We put a bunch of money in before the flop. We put a bunch of money in on the flop. I've got top pair. He's got top and bottom pair. The turn is whatever, and the river's an 8, which counterfeits a suit 2 pair. Jason Somerville just sort of reflexively says, good game, Terrence. He thinks I've been busted. Okay, he didn't quite see that. He didn't see that the 8 had counterfeited him. And John goes, like, yeah, good game if you can't fucking read the board, fucking idiot. And, goes on, there's just a little much. But I mean, I give him a little pass because it's like 3:20 in the morning. It's exhausted. But up until then, he'd been a complete gentleman. In fact, me and Jason had even talked about, like, he's happy John Manette now. But yeah, John picks up his third. I mean, he's obviously a phenomenal poker player in mixed games. I mean, he's not the most well-known name in the world. I mean, of the guys in the world who have won 3 bracelets, like in the last decade or so, I think most people would know more names than John, because he tends to do it in the mixed games and not the glamour games, the big no limit hold'ems. But obviously super tough player in all limit games, and deserves a bracelet. Real long heads up with Nate. At some point, I actually went down and I watched a little bit. I won't say railed because that's Diana's job.
I'm teeing that up.
Yeah, that's good. Cue that up on the boards. But I went down and watched a little bit, and I was just like, man, I'm tired. I don't want to watch this anymore. And it's tough playing heads up limit.
So I'll step on tweets a little bit. As you mentioned,
sure.
Tweeted bracelet winner John Manette reveals how his wife railed him for over 12 hours on his road to victory. And she retweets it and says, well, this definitely makes our sex life sound more interesting than it is.
Yeah. Diana's great. I've known her for about as long as I've known John. And yeah, she's been in the poker media for a while. So it's good to sit down and catch up with her, even though we were kind of enemies at the table for a while. But yeah, she was there right at the beginning of final table. And that's the first time I'd seen her since they had the kids. So, it's like I said, when you play like the 10K events, there is this sort of social group that just sort of exists in this world because the fields are so small, same kind of 120 people over and over and over again. It's not like, you play the $500 tournament, the reunion, you've never seen any of these people before.
So you played the 1500 limit hold'em. We both played that. I saw you. Any other tournaments, or were those the two?
That was it. I mean, I played, I was only there for 6 days. I must have played, I think I counted it up. I played all of day one in that one. I think I played something like, I was in the casino, like either playing or on a break for like 42 hours out of a 6-day trip. Yeah. Just a lot of poker and yeah, just a lot of poker. I really only had the 1 day off in between the 1500, busting out of the 1500 limit hold'em before the 10K limit hold'em started. And it wasn't even a full day off. It was because I had to show up for day 2, bust kind of early, and then had the rest of that day off. But no, I was pooped. I mean, I don't know how I used to do it. Like my 27-year-old self did this all the time, but I mean, just this many hours, these guys doing it day in, day out for 8 weeks in a row. It's absolutely exhausting.
So I did it backwards. I was there for 9 days and spent, I don't know, not as much time as you did.
Yeah. You played about like 8 hours in the limit hold'em.
Yeah. Well, probably a little more than that, I think, but not much. The limit hold'em was a ton of fun. So I kind of, you and I went for lunch and went, hey, why don't I play the limit hold'em? This is my discipline.
Well, first you said, why don't we get a foot massage, and then we'll play the limit hold'em.
Right, which we had to do when you're in Vegas at Spring Mountain. You want to get the foot massage and some pho, so that we did that. But sort of a last minute decision, and you pointed out that this field is super soft and it's a good event. And God, were you right? I mean, my table was fantastic. It was, raise. It was limp under the gun constantly, like raise 5 calls and see a flop, and creates an interesting dynamic. I played with Mark Seif, Chainsaw was at my table. Old friend of mine, Scott Buller, was there. So we had a fun time, giving Chainsaw a hard time for most of it, which was fun. But no, yeah, I think I played till, I don't know, 12 or 1, and had some chips for a bit, and then run dry as the blinds get up. And Chainsaw was not a fan of the structure. I'll put it that way. He pointed out that early, nobody. I think we started with 25,000. Nobody after a bunch of hours had less than 20.
Yeah. So I mean, I think from we started play at 3 p.m. I think between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. I never had less than 22 or more than 28,000 chips. Yeah. It's way too deep early. If you're the kind of guy who likes that, then great. You're definitely not going to bust in the first hour. I'll guarantee you, if you're going to play a 1500 limit event, the World Series in 2021, I promise you will not bust in the first hour. You probably will not bust in the first 2 or 3 hours either, because the levels are not only. I think we started 62 big bets, and it repeated the level, and then it only went down to like 50 big bets, and when we repeated that level too, it was just like too slow. And then at the end of the night, you're just playing like real big. I mean, real big. Like after that, like I said, I wasn't anywhere outside of like 22 to 28 for the first 6 hours. And then I was like, boom, I was up to 90. And then boom, I was down to 30 and then back up to 70 and just like swinging like mad. A little bit too swingy late in the day, a little bit too flat early. But some people like want that at the World Series. They think you should never be able to bust out in the first 2 hours. I disagree. I think if you're having a bad day, you should bust out in 2 hours and hit the in and out.
Sean Deeb got moved to our table, and he made a last longer offer to me, and I took it, and then he busted me. So that was good. Which I still owe you for, by the way. I think you ended up paying him for me, but
that's right.
All right, so moving on, we've got a bunch of World Series stuff, but Ariangle takes down his second bracelet. He wins, I believe it was the 3-game triple. Was it the triple draw?
Ariangle won the Omaha Eater
Omaha Eater, right, the 10K.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. So we were there, sweating Ari, a bunch of his friends. I know Ari just sort of.
How drunk were you? You don't even remember what the game was, and you were railing.
We had a bunch, and
how did I correct you on what game it was? And you were there.
It was quite loud too. And the guy he's got heads up with has a Pavel Bure jersey.
I saw this because I was on break in my tournament, and I was like, "Who's this dude in the Pavel jersey?"
Yeah.
I love it.
Cheer against this guy. He's got the GOAT jersey on. But anyway, Ari ends up taking it down. But Jason Kuhn was playing the 25K heads up right beside us, and we were kind of loud, and there was a lot of props with red and white, and a bunch of the guys from the Matt Savage golf tournament every year were there and gambling it up, and Craig Shade and Turbo and Kuzmich and a bunch of the guys, and it got pretty loud. And Jason was not far away. He was like 10 feet away with his back to us, and there's tequila going and yelling and screaming. And Jason wasn't happy about it. And he let us know. And he said, look, guys, I get cheering on your buddy, but can we stop at the props and the screaming? And he was totally right. Like, we all just kind of went, oh, right. There's somebody over there playing for big money, and he needs to concentrate. And here we are kind of yelling and screaming. So, as soon as he said that, I think we all realized that we were in the wrong, and we ended up quieting down a bit. And thankfully, Jason went on to win his first bracelet.
Yeah, and more than that, like I have a follow-up for that too, and I wish I could credit who this was, and I can't even remember. It's been such a blur week. I can't remember if this was a story told me in person or if I just read it on Twitter. One of the people on that rail, you might even know who it is because you were there, although you don't know which game was being played, so probably not. One of the people on that rail said that Jason came to seek him out specifically like the next day and say like, hey, I was a little bit short with you guys. I'm really sorry, and this person was just like, dude, you got nothing to be sorry. Like, we're the fucking ones out of line. We're being a bunch of drunk assholes while you guys are playing for hundreds of $1,000s over here. But that kind of shows you what kind of person Jay Kuhn is. He's a gentleman and a half. I mean, the least you can ask for is to politely ask for just to take it down from like an 11 to a 6 when you're just playing like heads up, trying to win your first career bracelet and all, which, I mean, I can tell you, I know how that feels because like I said, still got none on my wrist, but must be a huge relief for Jason Kuhn to notch that first bracelet, that monkey off you back, because obviously has been recognized as one of the best in the business for a very long time. It's got to feel good for him.
He just won a poker bracelet.
Yeah. People were going to have on show. But so real quick, just going back to Ariangle, I didn't watch any of that final table. Of course, I was playing. But I was talking to Ryan LaPlante. Ryan LaPlante was on the rail for Nate Silver when he was heads up with John Manette. He's trying to coach Nate Silver. Ryan LaPlante said that Ariangle played about as well an 08 final table as you can play. And if you ever wanted to learn anything about 08, watch Ariangle's final table. So there you have it. If you have your PokerGo subscription, probably worth checking out the way Ariangle played that Omaha 8 or better final table. At least according to Ryan LaPlante, he was bossing it at that one. But Canucks finished number 2. And I said this, I fucking wear a Canucks jersey to my final table, a Canucks sweat t-shirt to my final table. Same logo, right? Spaghetti logo. I was just like, this is probably a bad sign, but this is literally the only shirt I have left in my luggage that is not like that is actually clean that I could wear without smelling disgusting. So I'm gonna throw it on, and nobody ever wears and nobody ever wins anything when they put on a Canucks logo. So I'm probably not gonna win, but we'll see. We'll try to break this jinx, and I couldn't do it. I forget what the Pavel Bure guy's name is, but he couldn't do it either.
Yeah, did not do it. Speaking of PokerGo, if you want to watch some, well, let's call it interesting final table antics, go check out the 10K 7-card stud final table with one Philip J. Hellmuth. Who
All anybody can talk about this week, and I almost feel bad that we're going to talk about it because I just feel like all we do is just draw attention to like his shitty behavior week after week. All that happens, and we're all doing it. But I mean, we're a poker news podcast. We're supposed to talk about this shit. So let's talk about it.
So he gets to the final table. Phil, obviously known for his berating of players, etc. If you go to YouTube, you'll find tons of it. And he took it to a new level here at the 7-card stud final table. Ross, do you have any of the audio? Did you clip that?
Yeah, we don't play the whole thing, but let's get the relevant stuff.
So basically how this goes is it's Anthony Zeno who ends up going on and winning the tournament, and they're playing 7-card stud, and it's a completely standard. There's no point even explaining the hand. It's 100% standard. Phil has queens. Anthony has a hand that he can't fold, and Anthony ends up...
He has a 4 flush on 5th Street, right? So he's got like an ace high 4th flush on 5th Street. Hellmuth's got split queens, and he's betting all the way. Zeno raises him on 5th Street with a flush draw, checks it back on 6th. And on 7th, he makes his flush, and he gets extra value from his flush because that's what you do.
Because he played it perfectly, and Phil would play it exactly the same way, right? And Phil loses his mind. So Ross, why don't you play some of this stuff here?
Okay.
Wow, I told you my queens are going to need to hold up, but nice river. King one is so fucking good.
I think we need the
guy.
cards.
I know it's going to be a big pot. I know I'm going to have the queens, and they're going to have the fucking draw. Motherfucker. All that money. I'm crazy, like I'm not gonna fucking lead out on 4 and 5. Fucking guy.
If there is a hospital cart within a half a mile of the Rio, please bring it to the TV table. We will wheel off Phil Hellmuth.
Damn motherfucker. Knew it. Fucking punishing me, pops me on the fucking turn with a diamond draw and an ace. There's like 1 ace left. Fuck, how does he get fucking rewarded for that bullshit fucking play? And fucking overplay their hands against me. That's why I win all these fucking tournaments.
Hey, Ross, can you stop it there for a sec?
Yeah.
Because I want to say that the word fuck gets thrown around a lot in poker tournaments. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to get a 1-round penalty or a warning and then a 1-round penalty for the word fuck. I don't have any problem with what he said.
That's not actually accurate anymore. I mean, they don't give around F-word penalties.
No, I'm saying for warn. I mean, you get warned, and it depends on the dealer, right? If the dealer will pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like usually they will not give an F-word penalty. It's not like the fuck. It's the fuck you, right?
Right.
That's what's going to get you the penalty, and he never, at least in this part, doesn't cross that particular line like he does. We're not going to make Ross play the whole thing, but he does get into calling Anthony Zeno, motherfucker, like this motherfucker, just like he did to me like 4 years ago or whatever.
But do you have a problem with what he said so far?
So far, I mean, it's classless and obnoxious, but no, I mean, I would not give any. If I'm the tournament director, I'd probably at most give a warning because I think he's mostly under his breath. He's not really like directing it at a specific person. This is probably not penalty worth. Although if this was like just a dude, I wouldn't have been shocked if he got a penalty. But.
Right. Okay. So keep going, Ross.
Okay.
Fucking river. God damn it! What the fuck is going on here? Fucking miracle diamond for a diamond. He popped it every fucking street like he was gonna get me out of there. Some fucking bullshit. All the kings and aces are gone. What the fuck?
I was listening to Phil.
So fucking.
They added all this, or is it this? Just goes live.
It goes live.
Fucking guy.
Yeah, 2 pair. I didn't see it.
So real quick, let's pause that for a second. The problem with this, what we have now is, again, I think we're still not at penalty stage, but I think we're very clearly at warning stage, right? So like, if you're a floor man watching this, you have to take some action. It's not necessarily a penalty. In fact, I think a penalty would probably actually be wrong at this point, but it's especially because you haven't warned the guy, but you got to say like, hey, that's enough. You know, this guy's dropped like 40 F-bombs. And yeah, they're not really directed at a specific person, but they kind of are too. I think this is the point where you kind of got to be there as a floorman and come in and say like, hey, that's enough. We let it slide this far, but any more, and I'm gonna have to give you a penalty because you're out of line now. And you know, I'm again still off the tweet section, but there was an article. Oh God. I wanted to give credit, and I can't remember who wrote the article now. I apologize to whoever put it out there, but somebody did interview the tournament director on staff, and they said that like, oh, there wasn't a floorman at the table, right. And you know the dealer didn't call a floor over, which I think is a complete abdication of responsibility. Like, you know, the dealers at a final table are under a lot of pressure. Excuse me, for them to say like, hey, a dealer needed to call over a floorman. You know, in this instance, is I mean, I don't like that response.
Well, it's a final table of a 10K tournament. There's what, 6 or 7 people. There should be a floor man at that table at all times.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't one at ours either. I mean, I understand they're a little bit short staffed, but yeah, we had a situation with like the setups, like the RFID cards getting all bent, and we couldn't find a floor man either. But that's what I wanted to draw. Like, this is the point now where you kind of, as a floor man, you step up and you say like, that's enough, Phil.
Right. Okay. Let it go.
Okay.
Guts.
Sorry?
Fucking Zeno. I thought it wanted.
Okay, there we go. So
7-9.
fucking Zeno, right? That's directed right at Zeno.
Yep.
That's cross. Now we're crossing the line.
Yeah.
Pop me on fucking 5. It's fucking hard to make a flush.
It's hard to make a pair.
I like that guy. I don't know.
Jack McClellan. By the way, Jack McClellan, who's sitting right next to him, once gave Phil a 2-round penalty.
Right.
Oh, is he a director?
He was a former
director for the World Series for decades.
Oh, wow.
Fuckers. $100,000 fucking pot. Gonna fucking pop me. Oh, fill that out. I'm gonna pop him.
Oh, and there go the cards.
Fold.
Okay, stop it. So here's another thing. He ends up throwing the cards off the table, right? And there's rules against that. He throws I've watched it a couple of times, and he throws the table towards, he stands up and he's back from his chair and he throws the cards towards the dealer. He's mucking the hand on third or whatever. And it doesn't hit the dealer. It goes off the table beside him. Now he's responsible for his cards. He's responsible for throwing the cards off. But I don't think it was Phil trying to throw his, and this has been referenced a couple of times, that Phil threw his cards at the dealer. I don't think that's really true.
Yeah, he didn't like pick him up and chuck him off the table. At the same time, a decent human would have just been like, oh, sorry, dealer, like I put too much heat on that. I've thrown cards off the table by accident, right? Like totally, you just put a little bit too much heat on them when you fold. But you know, you do what a fucking normal grown-ass adult does and say, oh, I'm sorry, dealer, didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, and then go pick them up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not supposed to handle cards that are off the table, but yeah, you just say sorry and let the dealer do his job. There.
All right, Ross, let it go.
Okay.
That was unfortunate and inappropriate.
A little much.
When I get a chance, I will defend and attack Phil here.
And what can I do? I mean, what the fuck can I do? Except the next
Might be
tournament
a
when you
while.
overplay a fucking hand, take you out. I mean, what the fuck? I let all those fucking hands go when they 3-bet me on 3, 3, 3. The fuck do you think I fucking have?
Rear space.
So unfucking fair, man. Play like a fucking genius to get down here every fucking day. I think I'm gonna burn this fucking place down if I don't win this fucking tournament.
Oh boy.
Well, they're actually taking their
Watch
wrecking ball
everybody
to
throw
it
money away.
soon,
Stop
so
it
you'll
there.
be doing them.
This is so far out of line. It's incredible.
Yeah, he says he's joking immediately. It's hard to talk over because I think Norman Chad talks over him there for a second. So he's like, "Oh, I'm joking." Like, so there's sort of this realization that it's like, oh, I've gone beyond what's acceptable, even for me, even with the relaxed rules that apply to Phil Hellmuth.
Right. So that's the point, right? So talking about burning the place down, that's an instant penalty for anybody else. And if there's obviously there wasn't a floor man there.
I mean, it might be a DQ. Like it might be people have been talking all week about how Sam Panzica is 86th for life from the Rio for making a extremely similar comment.
Yeah.
Sam Panzica said something like, I wish I had an AK right now or something like that, which is obviously really gross too. But the fact is that Phil Hellmuth didn't get one hand of penalty, and Sam Panzica hasn't been to the World Series for many years.
And that's the problem, right? Like, and there's been a lot of justification, and I've seen out on Twitter and in the poker community, oh, it's Phil being Phil, and this is great. It brings people to poker. They love watching it.
I don't know that I've seen that many people who are really, quote, in the poker community say that. I think I've seen a lot of fanboys who follow Phil on Twitter, and a lot of people who aren't really in the poker space do that. I mean, if you can name me, like, other than Matisau, because he doesn't count, like, if you can name me like 3-4 like well-known, well-respected people in the poker community who said like what Phil did, oh, that's just Phil being Phil, those are okay antics. Like even Phil doesn't think, Phil went out and put out a half-ass fucking apology on Twitter. Even Phil doesn't think he should be allowed to say that. Like that's how you know. So I know what you're saying. Like there's always this sort of, because we read the Twitter comments because we're dummies, there is this sentiment that it's like, oh, Phil, it's Phil being Phil. I think really like it's acknowledged that this was too much. You can't make threats about burning down the Rio. Like that's even if you immediately follow it up and say you were joking, like that's just not okay. And
it's hard to watch and it's hard to listen to, and he should have been penalized. And And I saw an exit interview with Phil. He's like, you know what? Half the people say I'm completely out of line, and half the people say it's great for poker, and they're both right. And I'm thinking to myself, no, both aren't right, Phil. I don't know if anything's going to happen subsequent to this, given there wasn't a floor man. That's their excuse. Well, you have the video coverage of it. You have Phil admitting to the things that he said. Can he not get a penalty retroactively for something? I don't know how you'd apply it, or maybe he gets 24 hours off. I don't know what you could do, but the World Series of Poker should do something. And I mean,
it's on video, right? Like this isn't even a situation where they didn't know that it was happened because like, you're on day one of the Colossus and there's like 700 tables in the room and one guy was out of line and then they call the floor over, but it happened half an hour ago. So it's just this guy's word against that guy's word. It's on the fucking tape. You just got to go back and watch it, right? Like you know what he did, and it's a tremendously inconsistent application of the rules. There's no way anyone not named Phil Hellmuth wouldn't have gotten a warning, a penalty, serious things. And it's not even on Phil at this point. Like they just, like if a criminal just keeps like, they just keep catching them and they keep not punishing him. And is it a criminal for being criminal, or is it the justice system's fault? Nobody's doing anything. And it's that's what's really frustrating. You can't even blame Phil at this point. Yeah. Chris Moneymaker, let's get into just tweet section real quick, because there's a couple. There's obviously everybody's got an opinion on this, but Chris Moneymaker, who is again about as big a name as poker as you get, is the World Series needs to have one set of rules for all players. Some players are unfairly banned, while others can get away with anything with no issues. Is it hard to enforce the rules universally the same? And it's absolutely right. Like you got a guy who is one of the most recognizable faces in the history of the World Series of Poker, Chris Moneymaker, saying like no preferential treatment. Doesn't matter if you're a celebrity. Doesn't matter if you draw eyeballs to PokerGo. Like you can't enforce the rules. Like you got this. It's the 30th, 40th, 50th, 100th time we've had Phil name calling and just being an absolute asshole at the table. It's just like with no penalty. He's never given the one time he got a penalty, which was whatever, like the 2013 or 2014 World Series of Poker against the Romanian guy. I can't remember. It got overturned. Like he went to Jack Effel and got the penalty overturned in the main event. It's so frustrating that this guy just gets to play by a different set of rules as everybody else, and it's gross.
So there's a tweet, friend of the show, Brandon Shack Harris, early in the World Series of Poker, and I'll see if I can share a screen here. Oh, no, I can't.
So we'll have to do it. Just
early in the World Series of Poker, Brandon Shaq Harris has an umbrella open over him while he's playing. He's got an umbrella over him. He's an artistic guy, thinks it's kind of neat, and has it. And
he's just bringing color to the game. A lot of people accuse Brandon of being like looking for attention or whatever. He's just Brandon dances to the beat of his own drum. Like, he's the dude giving hugs in the parking lot, and just a kind of a little hippie dude as poker players go. So he decided to bring an umbrella.
So there was a great tweet. There it is. Atari Robbie says, "Well, I for one want to congratulate the floor at the World Series of Poker for making sure Phil didn't open up an umbrella at the final table because Brandon was told that he can't do this. He's got to stop that. Checking cards and tantrums are one thing, but the World Series would have lost control if they didn't jump in this early on." Good tweet there.
Yeah, and it's not like we're here to take a position on whether Brandon Shaq Harris should be allowed to have an umbrella at the poker table. Like, it's it's whatever. It's what it is. But like Phil gets to do whatever the hell he wants, and I think everybody in the poker community is sick of it.
Yeah,
honestly, everybody.
Sad, and hopefully the World Series of Poker can think about something that.
I have a feeling that's why he's sort of made these half-assed apologies on Twitter. We won't read them. You can go to his own Twitter and read them yourself. Is because he's probably been talked to, and they've probably said like, "Hey, we don't want to give you a penalty, but can you keep it down a bit? Can you take a little off?" Yeah,
for sure. All right, moving on. The ladies' event happened. Remember that the ladies' event every year, they can't make it gender specific due to Nevada laws, but they can make the buy-ins different for men and women. So the buy-in for the women's event is $1,000 for women and $10,000 for men. Now this has
I believe they call it the $10,000 ladies no limit hold'em event with a $9,000 discount for ladies.
Right. So that's done pretty well to curb men playing. Of course, we've had over the years, we've had men play the events, unwelcome as it may be. But I don't think it's happened, I want to say, for a couple of World Series, but at least I don't remember it if it did. This year we did have one man, and his name was Tom Hammers. He's from Minnesota, and he decided to pay the $10,000. He was, I guess he was out for lunch or something with a friend of his, and they decided to each put up $5,000 so he could play the ladies event, and they wanted to do it to their sort of justification was they were going to split or send any money that they'd won to women's charities, battered women, and different things like that. Now, I think it's incredibly tone deaf, right? Because read the room. The women don't want you playing in the tournament. This is a women's event. If you go and play in this tournament under the auspices of donating money that you win to charity, first of all, just donate the $10,000. You don't need to put it into a poker tournament. And second of all, if you go there and you bust out a woman who flew in for the World Series of Poker event, and you busted her out, it's going to leave a sour taste in her mouth. And so it's just incredibly tone deaf. I don't know how somebody didn't tell him this was a bad idea, but he ended up playing and busting. Terrence, your thoughts there?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, imagine being a woman really looking forward to the ladies' event and being busted by this dude. It's shitty. There are many women who this is their only event. I know a lot of them. There are 900 women approximately who play this tournament. And a lot of them, this is their only poker tournament of the year. It's certainly their only World Series poker tournament of the year, but in some cases, it's like almost the only poker that they play. People make trips out for this tournament because it's a special time. It's got a special vibe. Women in poker are a tremendous minority. I think it was like less than 3% of entrants in the main event are women. So they feel a camaraderie. They feel a kinship with the other women at the table. You're in a man's world. You're 100% in a man's world, and you never really quite feel a part of it, no matter what your accomplishments are as a woman in the game or how seriously you take it or how many friends you have in this world. And this is the one event where they can all feel like they're a part, and they can all have fun and be themselves and not feel judged or however it is they whatever discomfort that they often feel at the table. So it's a shitty thing for the guy to do. I mean, at the same time, like, you want to put this under the guy, the interpreting this in the most positive light. It's like, okay, he's donating $10,000 of equity or whatever. And he's trying to have a good time. So, that's okay, right? Because the fact is that we have all these situations of charity where people donate money so that they can have a good time, right? Like you make this big donation so that you can meet a celebrity or something. It's like, oh, well, you could have made the donation anyway. It's like, but yeah, they wanted to meet the celebrity, whatever thing or extrinsic value was. But the problem is that like he's taking away from other people's experiences. There are so many people who just aren't going to be comfortable with this, and so many women who would, if we're trying to get women into the game, this is like a black mark on it. And it's very clear that like this is just an attention seeking guy. I mean, I kind of looked at his Twitter timeline just to see like what the deal with this is about. And I think it's a bit of a facade that this guy was just like, oh, I just want to help women's charities because like immediately the tweet is, I'm going to play the WSOP ladies event. All proceeds will go to women's charities. Tony Hartman and my idea. Any donations will be welcome. Who wants the story at KevMath? And of course, if you want anything to get well known out there in the world, you tweet at KevMath because he can instantly turn anything into a story because he's very influential. So this is like right away, just sort of like just some random weird publicity stunt. And again, most of the time I have no problem with people doing publicity stunts when it's a good thing that results from it. But I mean, the fact is like, it's just, you're ruining somebody else's day. Like just how about don't? Like, how about don't?
Exactly. Think it through. Katie Stone tweeted, wait, who cares what his intentions are? Every woman who bought into the ladies event is going to play a ladies event. Why do intentions matter? It's being selfish and disrespectful in my opinion. Zoom the fuck out, dude. Yeah, and 100% right. Totally agree with her there. Actually, that brings us to a little bit of the upside down flag top left corner thing, the NFT that we've been touting that Daniel had made up. We've given away one earlier to Mark Feinberg, who's actually friends with the woman who's about to win the ladies event. They're heads up. Oh. And Laura Eisenberg has 11.1 million to second place Deborah Brooke, 1.8 million. It's Laura's first, she's a radiologist apparently, first final table at the World Series. So it looks like she's going to take down the ladies event, which is super cool. That does bring us to the NFT thing because Mark Feinberg from Reno won the first one with the 5-star review. So go give us a 5-star review. We're definitely going to get back to those to give away some more of the NFTs that we have to give away. There was 12, we have 4, so we have 8 to give away. We've now given away 1, which is 7 left. And so when I was in Vegas, I ended up doing the Poker News podcast with Remco and Donnie Peters and had a lot of fun with them. And, I'm over this weight loss bet now. I made the weights on October 1st.
You get fat for the next one.
I'm not doing another one. That's the final.
This is like, the weight loss season is over. It's like just time to get, it's now the fattening stage before the next weight loss prop bet occurs. So anyway, so I hadn't had pizza in a long time. And I talked to Remco, who's a local, and he's a connoisseur of fine foods. And Donnie Peters, of course, legendary for his pizza rating and appreciation. I asked them, where's the best pizza in Las Vegas? I'm going to go there. So they tell me there's a place downtown called Good Pie. And I'm like, okay, I can get a Detroit style. Yes, I love Detroit style pizza. I'm going to go there. We end up going. And Isaac is behind the bar and he recognizes me. He's like, hey, he's a poker fan. And he buys me a drink. He's super nice. It's me and my friend. And we have a great pizza. It's a nice night. And he mentions that he wants to win an NFT. He wants to win one of the upside down flags in the top left corner. So, he bought a drink. So he's getting one. That's all it takes. Daniel's out there talking about how this thing is going to be worth $500,000 and you just sold it for like a $4.99 cocktail.
No, it was like 20, but it was a good cocktail. But it was great. So if you get a chance, head on down to Good Pie in downtown Las Vegas. Say hi to Isaac. He's there rocking it all night and doing great. So Isaac is going to win one of the 8 coveted upside down to flag top left corner.
Wow.
Detectives 2 away. So now we have 6 left. Ross, how are we going to give the next one away of the 6 we have remaining?
Well, at the end of last show, I said that, I was going to start an Instagram and I made a post there and people can, I asked them to just write something they like about the show or one of the hosts or something. And I'll randomly draw the people who actually made a bit of effort to give them one. So that's still going. I think there's maybe like 100 comments on the thing so far. So we'll select
What's the
person
Instagram?
there.
Is it just that poker pod?
At that poker pod? I shared one of your posts the other day.
I don't know anything. I'm such a fucking boomer. I don't even know how, like, I've seen other Instagram posts that I like want to reshare, and I don't even know how to do it. I'm just a fucking Instagram like boomer.
Yeah, I started it because a lot of people don't use Twitter, and it's an easy way to reach people. So, if you boomers want to follow, we'll follow you back, and we're slowly growing the following there. So just follow the show and make a comment, and we'll give you an NFT. Maybe.
All right, we got 6 left. That's going to give one away next show. That'll be 5 left, and then we'll find new fun ways to give away one of the remaining 5 after that. A couple of more things from the World Series, just some sort of interesting things to quickly talk about. One of them was Kelly Minkin, and she registered for a 6-max event, and I think they were nothing. It was a late reg, so she was sitting at the table for about 25 minutes, she said. Nothing had happened because they were waiting for more people. And somebody who had harassed her online, I believe it was online, and stolen money from her somehow, was at the next table over. So she was like, well, this sucks. I don't want to sit here with this guy. It's going to throw me off all night. I want to dereg. And she did so. And then registered again for the tournament a little bit later and got moved to somewhere else. And there's a lot of people pretty upset about this. The whole, slippery slope thing. She can look at her table and decide if this is a table she wants to sit at. I don't think Kelly was trying to shoot an angle here. This is a guy who harassed her, in her opinion, and I thought this was a lot to do about nothing. Terrence, what did you say?
Yeah, well, it's very clear that she's not shooting an angle because she specifically said she sat down. There's 2 people she doesn't know. Normally, if you're gonna try to angle shoot to unregister a tournament, it's because you walk up to your table and you realize, oh, this is a real tough table. Like, I'm gonna try and unregister. Like that's the angle shooty thing to do. She said nobody at the table she recognized. It's probably a slightly better than average table because Kelly Minkin's been around for a while. So I mean, you take her at her word that the reason that she didn't want to be seated is because this person at an adjacent table who's been harassing her and has stolen money from her. And that's rough. I mean, I see what people are saying. It's like, oh, it's a slippery slope towards being unable to unregister a tournament for whatever reason you want. But the floor person, whoever was there, made the decision at the time that this is a reasonable situation. I agree. It's a lot to do about not very much at all.
One other quick thing: Sean Deeb woke up at 6 a.m. He's got a place in the Rio, and somebody was robbing his room. He woke up to hear somebody rummaging through his room. Chased the guy down the hallway, I guess, and didn't get him. From what I understand, they haven't caught him yet, or at least I haven't seen that they had caught him. But the Rio and their front desk and the cards and screwing that up, it's just Jesus, guys, get your shit.
Super scary, right? Like, like it's. I mean, I think I read the replies that like somebody else even had said something similar had happened to them in the past. So they're like, what are these people doing inside your hotel room?
Yeah,
this is really funny. At the exact time that I was reading this tweet like out at breakfast, I remembered that I just left like 3 1K chips on the desk in my room at the Rio. I was like, probably shouldn't have done that. Probably should have put them in the safe. But like it's security. There's been a problem for a while. I mean, the last World Series we had a robbery in the parking lot, and then the really bad handling of that. It's we've talked a lot about this, about how the Rio is the best location for the World Series, and because the World Series is going to move to the Strip, it does look like next year that we're gonna miss it. But one thing we're not gonna miss is just kind of how shitty the Rio is in a whole lot of aspects. I mean, it's not going to be fun trying to get into the valleys of the Paris parking lot to play the World Series next year, which is what it looks like we're going to have to do. It's not going to be fun crossing the Strip if you live on the west side of town. But I mean, it's not a good property. It's really not.
It's really not. All right, let's move on to some tweets.
You're not going to do the Bilzerian thing? We're skipping that one?
Yeah.
You're going surfing on the internet.
T, you got a bunch.
I do got a bunch. A lot of them were related to the Hellmuth thing, but I won't go over too many of those. But But Barney Bowman had a great one. I've seen a few of these tweets. I think Barney's was one of the best. It said, thinking about the time that I got a 1-round penalty while short stacked near the bubble of the WSOP for saying, mind you, that Schrodinger's cat must be fucking dead by now. That is
crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, we talked about this a bit off the top. They used to be much stricter on the F word. There used to be like an automatic F word penalty. There was a year that was a thing at the World Series, which thank God they got rid of that because that's a terror. I mean, we're all 21 years of age. I think we can drop the occasional F bomb. I know I would be getting a few penalties. Yeah, that's funny. And also that's also like a weird philosophy joke to be dropping at a World Series table. Really like to know the event. Jen Harmon also had a tweet that was sort of related to the Phil hubbub. That was a funny story about Phil Hellmuth at the WSOP. Back at Binion's, he'd gotten knocked out of a tournament early. He didn't think he should have been knocked out so soon. So he pulled up a chair to the table and stayed there for 5 hours until he thought it was time for him to leave.
Which is awesome.
That's just like utter insanity.
Yeah.
Tweets from earlier in the World Series. One of my favorite ones. Guy named @Keith_Hein. Playing 1-3 at the Rio. Guy to my left is streaming a cockfight on his phone. Guy to his left pukes into an empty cup. I think my poker career is peaked. That's good. Jeremy Osmus, who won the casino employees event, which, I mean, I guess he's a prop somewhere. That's probably how he got into that.
He just won a poker bracelet.
He did just win a poker bracelet. And this may be an accomplishment that nobody else has ever pulled off. I have played 2 events at the WSOP. Excuse me. Yeah, I've played 2 events at the WSOP. I won one of them, and I'm losing overall. That is something that's going to be hard to do.
That is hard.
Because the event number 2 was the 25K horse. That's the only way that could happen. And so winning the casino employees event for the $500 I'll buy in a casino's employee event, and then busting out of the horse without cashing. That may never happen again.
He actually won event 3, the 1,000 COVID relief.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right. So yeah, scratch that. He won the COVID relief fund, and that one has obviously a lot of juice because a lot of it goes to charity. That's why it wasn't an event, but still a small event. Sam Grafton at Squid Poker. He's always on this fucking tweet section. The WSOP requires tenacity, patience, Olympian levels of endurance. And after you've queued to register, there's still live poker to be played. I think you went through this, right, Adam? You tried to play the 1,500 Omaha 8 or better, and that was never going to happen for you because of the registration lines?
Well, not registration lines. It was the COVID...
the vaccination proof line. Yeah.
So that took 4 hours.
Wow.
Scott Wilson and I tried, and we spent 4 hours.
Took me 20 minutes, but I mean, that's because I showed up in the second week and you show up in the first week.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're hearing this, don't be too alarmed by it. It only took me like 20 minutes. If you're American, it's even faster. Adam and I are both Canadians, so we don't have access to that Clear app. But if you're American going to the World Series, you just put it on the Clear app. It should be pretty quick. You do a quick check-in, but not too bad either way. And of course, what would a tweet section be without Mike the Mouth Matisow at the Mouth Matisow? Way back at the beginning of the series, October 1st, bagged a top 5 stack of 420,000 going into day 2 of the 25K horse. Time to fuck all the haters and try to pick off event 1 at the 2021 WSOP. Just a washed up pro here who can't win anymore. Hashtag eat shit. Hashtag positivity. Hashtag bracelets hunting. Hashtag eat shit followed by hashtag positivity. Has those 2 hashtags ever been used?
I mean, that kind of sums up Mike's kind of like persona and way of thinking, I think.
Yeah. Also, don't brag on after day 1. Like,
yeah. Did he cash in the 25K horse?
I don't know. He didn't win it. I know that much.
It's a hard tournament to win.
All right. Yeah. So Chad Holloway tweeted, Robbie Straczynski tweeted, don't look now, but a certain Mr. Phil Ivey, he is here in Vegas, spotted at the Aria, and there's a picture of him. Will he be at the World Series soon? Because he hasn't played any events yet. And Chad tweeted, this is just a sort of an FYI interesting thing. He said, would be nice, but have a couple of sources that say likely won't be there due to vaccination requirements. There's still lots of time, though. Fingers crossed. Interesting that he refuses to be vaccinated to play the World Series of Poker, which a bit shocking, given that the guy loves to play poker and, maybe he's just going to stick with cash games. But That's his stance.
It's also unconfirmed. Like Chad's just said, it was a couple sources.
We don't know.
I don't know how good his sources are.
Roscoe, is there a voicemail or two that we can?
There is. I wanted to mention. Did you guys see? We've talked about Will Jaffe and his tough combos in the past.
He had a tough combo with Phil, didn't he?
Did you see that one?
I didn't see it. If you want to fire it up, that's fine.
I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, he just defended Phil and said, "You guys to relax. It's just Phil, whatever."
Really?
So there's one of the people.
Yeah.
There's one. But if people want to read it, they can go to Jaffe's.
Okay.
And listen to it.
All right. Let me check the voicemails here.
Email number 1.
Hey guys, I'm just one of the millions of people who's bothered by having to get the jab in order to go play this tournament. I think it's kind of silly. Obviously, we all know, like, you can go walk down the hall and go play in the cash game, and it's fine. You can play blackjack or craps or whatever. I mean, there's going to be hundreds of people who go over to the hooker bar and get hookers with no vaccine. So, but, the good thing is, boys, like, one thing you have to remember, everybody who's bothered by this, is that these companies, these casinos, and these businesses, they respond to money. So where the money goes is what they're going to do. And there's going to be a bunch of other tournaments in town ready to take our money. So don't worry about it.
Okay. First off, I played cash games and I had to show my vaccine thing. So that wasn't a thing. Hooker bar for sure. You don't need to show there. But
I mean, the main thing is it's because of the tournaments, right? Like I wouldn't have even, you can play other cash games. I mean, we just mentioned at the Aria, you probably can't play them at the Rio, as Adam mentioned. But the main thing is the tournaments, right? They don't want to disqualify people in tournaments for getting COVID because it's like a liability thing, and that's against. I mean, Daniel stated this on previous podcasts. It's the way the law is written in Nevada right now, right? So if you have a COVID exposure, you're at a final table. Guess what? You're getting 9th place money because they're taking you out of the tournament, and they don't want to do that. I mean, it's your choice, right? Like, but right now, if you're vaccinated, you do not have to quarantine. If you are unvaccinated, you do have to quarantine. It's a simple rule. Like, again, like they're not making, like Ty Stewart's been clear about this. Daniel's been clear about it. They're not making like a political statement on who should get vaccinated or who shouldn't get vaccinated. They don't want the liability that results from having an unvaccinated player get COVID at the table because they're going to have to kick that person out. And that's going to be a shitstorm. That's all it is. You can vote with your dollar, go play with it, go play at the other tournaments, but the Nevada law still applies there. Like you got, they don't be surprised if they pick you up at whatever, day 3 of some tournament, some series somewhere, because you get a COVID exposure if you haven't shown your vaccine proof. Could happen.
Yeah.
Email number 2.
Hey, DAT Poker Pod. Adam from Dayton, Ohio here. Long-time listener, second-time caller. I had a couple questions for the pod and see what you guys thought. I was just listening to this past episode where you were talking about the issues with ICM and short tech, and wondered what the pod thought about making it a pot limit game to kind of solve these problems. I strictly play no limit hold'em, but initially when you guys were kind of describing it, it reminded me a little bit of TLO, and thought maybe one way to kind of solve these ICM problems is just pot limit it. So that you can't kind of, get wrecked by these equities pre. Second question, and this one maybe more for Daniel, but definitely curious what the whole pod has to think. My wife, for her 30th birthday, I booked her a surprise girls trip out to Vegas. And it's at the start of October here, and so my question's kind of twofold. One, do we think that Vegas is still going to be kind of open and able to be, touristed or frequented by tourists at the start of October with the Delta variant? We're all vaxxed, so not so worried about going, so much just worried that things will be closed down. And two, if you guys have any good recommendations for kind of things to do out in Vegas for a bunch of middle-aged white women, that'd be spectacular. So thanks again for the pod. Love listening to it, and look forward to every episode. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.
Well, the answer at the beginning of October is that everything was wide open. And
way to pull out a voicemail that's a little bit dusty. You got a few cobwebs on there. So yeah, we hope your wife had a wonderful time there. And yeah, there you can pretty much do everything. Some places you're gonna have to show a vaccine card. Like Raiders games.
I went to the Vegas Knights game. You had to show it there, which was
EDC is coming up. It's gonna be that. So a lot of things are gonna. Restaurants don't, things like that, not gonna show. But you can barely, from what I saw, you can barely tell that there's anything. There's no I didn't really encounter any real restrictions beyond mask wearing of any variety. With this spot limit ICM stuff, was he talking about short deck? I assume he was talking about short deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that is something that Daniel and I have both mentioned, is that yes, you could make it pot limit before the flop. I think that makes a lot of sense for short deck. I would not be surprised if that is in fact happening in the future. It only makes perfect sense. The thing is that the pot is still kind of a lot in short deck because you've got an ante from every player and then you've got the blind. But it definitely would improve the game because, you can only make it whatever 7 or 8 before the flop. Yeah, that would make a big difference.
Indeed. All right. That's going to wrap it up for the podcast this week. Thanks so much to you guys for tuning in. Thanks to you guys for getting together to do it, Ross and Terrence. And hopefully Daniel can join us next week. Maybe we'll schedule it around one of his tournaments. He might take a day off here and there. He's been.
I doubt it, man. Like, he's just always there. I mean, I'm gonna look up the schedule, but I suspect we might have to find him on a day that there's like an online tournament, because maybe he'll be willing to do it online at the same time. Like, but online tournament, next online tournament, the same day as the 1500 triple draw. He'll be playing that. He's going to play everything. So
we'll see if we can sneak it in. If we can't, we can't. And we'll keep going and reporting on all the stuff that's happening in the World Series of Poker to get everybody caught up. In the meantime, we will talk to everybody next week.
Bye.